Welcome to Accelerate Your Wealth, a podcast by Rebecca Robertson, founder and director of Evolution Financial Planning. We hope you enjoy the show, and please feel free to leave us a review. It really does help. Feel free to connect with us on Facebook, LinkedIn and Instagram, or head over to www.rebeccarobertson.co.uk or our sponsor, Evolution Financial Planning, for regulated advice on www.evolutionfinancialplanning.co.uk/podcast.
Hey, it's Rebecca here, and I'm here for a solo one for a change, solo show. Hello, I hope you're doing well. I feel like I wear this jumper all the time, those that are watching this on video. If you're not and you're on the podcast, then go to my YouTube channel and you'll see what video I'm talking about. I do get changed, I do wash it. I just find it really comfy when I'm sitting at my desk. I'm sitting here, like, my hair's not done. I've been riding this morning, so my hair's a little bit flat. I've got no makeup on, but hey, I turn up, right? I'm here. That's the main thing. And I did a presentation yesterday for a lovely lady called Catherine Watkin. She's actually done a show on here before. So if you are in business and you want to learn more about sales, then that's definitely a show to go and check out. I'll actually just quickly go and find out what it's called so that you can go and find it on the list below, and it's an easier reference for you in terms of which podcast. And I did a session in her membership. So unless you're in her membership, you're not going to get full content of this particular podcast. But there was a couple of points that I made that I thought, do you know what? I need to talk about this more. I need to talk about this in the podcast. So that's why I'm here. Here I am, right? And it is, I'm just scrolling, podcast number Selling from the Heart, episode 104. So that's Catherine Watkin. Go and check it out. She's a sales expert, unveils her secrets to success, emphasizing the importance of selling from the heart. No more pushy sales tactics, sleazy strategies. It's all about building genuine connections and creating meaningful relationships with your clients. So yeah, go and check her out. She's a real expert in her area. And if you're in business, it does link, sales and marketing. And what the message I'm going to be talking to you about today totally does link, because there's lots of things we're not doing. So what made me sort of think about doing this podcast is I started off the presentation talking about some statistics from Scottish widows. And once again, I've had Scottish widows come in on the show explaining the statistics. I've got a blog on my website, which is a regulated website where you can receive independent financial advice, www.evolutionfinancialplanning.co.uk. But also in episode 117, she's a financial specialist with Scottish widows. We discussed the various challenges facing women in retirement. And so in this presentation, I touched on some of the statistics, which we spent the whole podcast show talking about with Susan from Scottish Widows. And it's basically highlighting the fact that women save less towards their retirements, mainly because they might be working part-time or they've got lower earnings. So the percentage that they have to put into a workplace pension is less. And therefore they're saving less into a personal pension, also because they don't have the spare capacity. So that compared to men was quite a big contrast. And that's down to even worse when it's women who are single parents, and again, women who are divorced. And it's scary, the statistics of women that are going to go into poverty in their retirement. It's happening now, and it will continue to happen. Now, I am seeing a lot more millennial women, younger than millennial women, I should say, getting a little bit better, and women in their 20s even better so. But there's still a massive group of women in their later 30s, going into their 40s, and certainly in their 50s and 60s that wish they'd done certain things sooner. And when you then add in the equation of you're running a business, you might be a single parent or previously divorced, and possibly retraining, taking on another sort of revenue towards what you maybe done as your full-time employment. It might be a second job, or a third job for some people. The added stress or the added pressure as a business owner is, as I know for myself, massive. So I truly believe that the statistic's not here yet. No one's done the research on this, and I fed this back to Scottish widows. But I do believe there's going to be some more statistics coming through over the next coming years with more women in business, more women starting businesses. I believe that there's what I'm seeing in conversations that I have day to day, that these statistics will come out at some point in the future. And I believe that if you're a woman in business and you're a single parent and you're divorced, the chances of you going into retirement with not enough money is, I think, statistically much, much, much higher than those who maybe have been in a full-time job, consistently putting money into their pension at retirement, not had children, not got divorced, and has stayed had a really fruitful long-term career that's earning a lot of money, compared to those who take a career gap, start a business, and potentially then become a single parent or a divorcee with no support network. That pressure to then run a business means that it's 10 times harder to put into your pension. And I know from personal experience, when I was 14 years ago, I started my business, and I was in a situation that it took me about 5 years before I could start putting into my pension. And at the beginning, I didn't really understand why. Even working in financial services for as long as I had, I just saw it as something that I should do later on. It was something that was not to worry about. I had a pension, it was in the background, but I wasn't adding to it. And this is why I'm a massive advocate that if you're having parental leave or maternity leave, or you're having a bit of a career gap, as a unit, as a family unit, you should still be putting into a pension. But again, when you're running a business, you're prioritizing things like growing your business, reinvesting back in your business. There are a number of years potentially before you can actually start affording. But by then, people have got into bad habits. I'll give you an example. So with auto enrollment, up until recently, if you started a job, you wouldn't have to start a pension with that company after your probationary period. Also, it didn't kick in until you was age 21. So if you were starting your first job at 18, no one had to start a pension for you. That's now changed. There's regulation being put in place that every employer, regardless of their age, at the age of 18 onwards, they have to have a pension started from them, and they're not to wait until after the probationary period. They're actually meant to start at their first payroll. And that's because what a lot of people were then opting out, because they saw the pay difference. They saw the difference between, oh, I'm getting paid X for a number of months, and then I'm getting paid less. And I don't want to do that. I'll opt out of that. Whereas if it's something that you just accept from day one, psychologically, people are more likely to continue doing it. And the same happens when we're in business, but we haven't got a probationary period we're waiting for. We've got a business profit probationary period that we're waiting for. And that could be for some people a year, 2 years, 3 years. And there's so much noise and so many hats to juggle. Quite often, that's not prioritized. And it took me 5 years before I realized, oh my God, I need to do something about this. I then had a bit of a gap again when I had my little boy, which was 7 years ago. And then again, I started kicking in about a year later, I started paying my pension in again. So that is somebody who, I work in financial services. I've only worked in what I would call sort of investments and pensions for the last 8 or 9 years. So when I first started, I'd worked in financial services as a whole at that point, way over 10 years. I've been in total 24 years in total, because I didn't know pensions and deal with pensions. I was doing mortgages and wills and insurances. I wasn't into that side of things. I didn't focus on it. And so even for myself, I know how easy it is to put it to the back burner, to not check out what pensions you've got in place, to not make top up amounts. And the message that I sent yesterday in this presentation was to start somewhere. So if you're a woman in business, you need to start paying into your pension, even if it's a very small amount. Dig out an old pension scheme and start paying into something. Now, for a lot of people in business, they say, I can't afford that. I'm just about getting by. The thing is that we seriously, ladies, cannot afford, and gents really, we can't afford not to delay this, because what happens with the compound effect, the way that monthly payments work and making it consistent payments into a investment scheme works, is that you'll have, now it will be say £50, £100, £200 that you should be paying into a pension to have some sort of income later on, depending on your age. The longer you leave it, the more you're having to set yourself up to pay into in the future. So I would just really encourage you to start somewhere, even if it's just a tenner a month. If you think about all the things that you are spending your money on, if you're really honest with yourself, can you afford £50? Can you afford £100? I see more women go out and buy Louis Vuitton shoes when they've got their first few months of success in business. I never see anyone go online going, look at me, I've got a profitable business, I'm now ready to start paying into my pension. No, and ladies, we're going to be in serious trouble if we don't start taking it seriously. And I don't mean taking some spare money that you want to have fun with and buying Bitcoin, which has a huge amount of risk, and you really should be setting yourself up that you are going to lose all of that money. Whereas a pension is something that is regulated, it's protected to a degree, depending on the kind of risk that is taken with that investment. So you have to ask yourself, are you paying yourself enough? Can you give yourself a pay rise by paying into your pension? If you've got a business that reduces your corporation tax, and if you're a sole trader, you can then also get tax relief. So effectively, like getting some of that tax back, and it's being put into your pension for you. It's like free money. So we really can't afford not to. So here are some of my top tips on things to look at with your finances in your business that you could start making some adjustments to mean that you could start paying into your pension. Now, there is a period of time where you do need to invest back in your business. However, that shouldn't be indefinitely. So you want to have some backup money to start off with, and you want to have your tax saved. So there's some fundamental basics. So if it means you have to pay yourself a little bit less for a period of time, so that you have got some backup money, and that you have got like that buffer, and you have got all your tax in place, then, and that might take you 6 months, that might take you a year just to achieve that. For some, I remember I had a bigger tax bill than I was expecting. This is about 5 or 6 years ago. I hadn't planned for it as well as what I do now, and it took me a long time to play catch up with that. So I get that it's not a quick win, some of these things, right? It's things that you have to be doing on a consistent basis. So set yourself a monthly date, a review date, where you can review everything that is financial in your business and personally. And some of the other things that I'm talking about, like making sure all your clients can pay you really easily, like really automated systems. Looking at how much you actually need, what's your personal minimum amount that you need to survive on to pay your bills and keep a roof over your head. Do you know what that really is? So that you know that if you have less cash flow, or you're going to reduce how much you're paying yourself, what could you afford? And for most people, they pay themselves a lot more. And for most people, and I'm not talking people that are really struggling right now, but for the average sort of group of individuals, they are spending on things that aren't necessary. So really working out what is that long-term goal and what do you want in the future. If your asset in your business is solely you, so the courses and programs or the coaching that you're doing is all you, and it's all in your name, and it's all one-to-one, and it relies on you, you're not able to necessarily sell that business very easily, because it would be very much reliant on you. So in which case you have to find a way to you can't just sell that business. You can't just do that until you're 70 or 80 years old. You're going to have to stop at some point. You're going to want to reduce your hours. And trust me, I've had these conversations with clients, 65-year-old clients who have been going, oh, I love what I do, I really enjoy it. Year or two passes, they're getting closer to 70, conversation changes, and it changes very quickly. So look at what your outgoings are and see if you can reduce your personal and your business outgoings by 10%. So add it up, look at all your outgoings, what they come to, and then make out what's 10% of that, and then find out what you can cut back on. Equally, have a look at your sales, have a look at what you've been selling and what you've been producing in terms of sales, and say to yourself, okay, well, that's my average, it's 1,000 or 1,500 or 5,000 or 10,000, and just take a percentage, 10%, and add it by 10%. So if you're reducing your outgoings by 10%, you're increasing your sales by 10%, that's a 20% margin. That could be giving yourself a pay rise to pay for that holiday, to put some more money in your buffer account, to put the tax aside, or it could be paying into your pension. So looking at what your actual outgoings are, and are they revenue generating? And if you have spare money and it's burning a hole in your pocket, take it out of an account, put it in a savings account. So many people have bad habits with their personal finances that they apply that to their business, and they think, oh, I've got that course that I finished paying for. Well, that was £300 a month. What should I spend it on? Oh, I know. I'll go and find another coaching program to waste my money on. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't invest back in yourself, because I'd probably say in business, one of the most fundamental things that has made me good at what I am and what I do is my self-confidence and working actually on myself. So that's not really a business expense. That comes down to working with certain individuals to make sure I'm looking after myself properly. So more recently, that's nutrition as an example. So that's something that I'm going to start investing in. That's good for me, so it's good for my business. It means I'm more energetic, I've got more energy, etc. However, we have to be really clear that we're not chasing sort of shiny objects. We have to do the basics first. Before I start doing more of that, I'm paying into my pension first. So paying into our pension needs to be part of the foundation. What tends to happen is it's more a case of, oh, I've got an extra 30, 40 grand. I don't know what to do with it. What should I do to reduce my corporation tax? And that's often right at the end of the tax year or after the tax year, when the accountant turns and says, oh, you should really think about doing a pension. It's too late. You should have done it 2, 3, 4 years before. And I don't mean to preach, but I'm preaching in a context that I've done it myself. I've been there, I've done it myself. And that's why I'm sending out this really important message that women in business and sole traders, women in business, limited companies, we're in serious trouble if we don't start taking this matter more seriously. That's my message from today. I hope you take some key nuggets of things that you can go and do. And if you are a business owner, there are plenty other podcast recordings from amazing business owners that I've recorded over the years. Go and check them out, absorb them, learn from others. There's a lot of free content out there. There's a lot of books out there, marketing books. You don't have to sign up to these big coaching programs. Sometimes it's just looking at the conversations that you're having. Have you followed up? Looking at the clients that you speak to, have you discussed any other options at how you might be able to help them? Have you done one-to-one work with them? And actually you could get 5 or 6 of them into a group coaching program. It's another form of revenue. Is there other things that you could be doing in your business to create additional streams that are an easy add-on to what you're already doing? You're not having to reinvent the wheel. And quite often, old school works for a lot of businesses. And for me, my business ticks along in the background, and I come and do this podcast. It goes on my TikTok, it goes on my Reels, it goes on my LinkedIn, it goes on my Facebook. But I do this once, and I multi-purpose this podcast in several places. Sometimes I don't even know if it's working. And every week I send an email out to my newsletter. Most weeks I send an email out to my newsletter. Now, it's understanding that being consistent in those small, quick, easy ways that work for me, that's not a great effort. I don't want to be running complex free Facebook groups. That's not where my clients are or what my clients want. And so sometimes it's not about what other people are doing. It's about what your clients want you doing and how they want you to show up. My clients are quite happy with me wearing my fluffy jumper with my hair not done and talking the real talk, and I'm straight talking when I say it. So I say it with love. So I'd love to hear from you. Please come and find me on my TikTok. So I've just started a newer TikTok account. My team have been helping me get as many of these podcast snippets onto my TikTok account. I'm not there yet. I haven't got a massive following, but I'd love if you are. You are on TikTok, please go and check out my profile. I will give you the link. Oh, it's playing. Sorry, I'll try to go into my profile and it starts playing the video. So I am Rebecca at Rebecca Robertson _1. If you find this podcast recording on there, I'd love if you'd like it and share it. Equally, if you're not a TikTok fan, then please go and find me on my Facebook page, and they're issued as Reels on my page, which is Rebecca Robertson, Wealth Strategist. I'd love to hear you over there. If you see this particular reel or any of the reels, if you wouldn't mind commenting and letting me know your thoughts. What are you going to do differently? What one thing are you going to do differently in your finances to make a difference and start getting that future planning in place? That's over and out for today. Sending lots of love and take care.
Thank you for joining us on today's episode of Accelerate Your Wealth. For further help or to connect with Rebecca directly, please head over to the website www.rebeccarobertson.co.uk, where you can find further information on our planner, book, and how to further maximise your wealth. Our sponsor, Evolution Financial Planning, for regulated advice on pensions, investments, mortgages, insurances on www.evolutionfinancialplanning.co.uk/podcast.